Jason and I looked at each other and literally we were hysterically bawling, like crying. I realized, I guess at that time, that it was about to get real. I was in fight mode and survival mode. And when you're going through hard times, you don't remember how hard it was. You remember who showed up for you and supported you during those hard times. Marriage is hard and life is hard, but it's all about resilience. And when you make it through, it's the foundation that sustains you and makes your marriage even stronger. Hello, party people. Welcome to the Dottie's House podcast. If you're new here, welcome. And if you've been listening for a while, thank you so much. I truly appreciate your love and support. Well, today is a very special day because this is my first solo episode. I thought that I would open up and share with you a little bit about my earlier life and the earlier times in our marriage. You guys know me as a mother, a wife, science-based relationship and dating coach, and a matchmaker and podcast host. But my life was very different early on in our marriage. And honestly, we had some really hard times that I've never talked about in this podcast. And I wanted to share and open up a little bit more about me. So it's October, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And so I thought it'd be fitting to share with you all that I am fortunate to be a breast cancer survivor. I was diagnosed with breast cancer at 40 years old. I will never forget being told that I had breast cancer after my first mammogram. The way the whole thing went down, I was 40 years old. It was in the summer. I had Bradlee and Jason. They were young in elementary school. Jason was in first grade and Bradlee was in third grade, I recall, or fourth grade. And I just felt off. I knew something was wrong. I didn't know what was wrong, but I felt off. And I said to myself, I need to go to the doctor. I remember Bianca, our Portuguese water dog, who's no longer with us, was growling at me as well. Like she never growled at me and she was growling, but also kind of like crying, growling, like, Mommy, something's wrong, like trying to tell me something. I remember that vividly as well. And so I just went with my gut and I made an appointment with my primary care physician, my OBGYN, and I scheduled my first mammogram because I was 40 and it was time for me to get my first mammogram anyway. I hadn't done that. And so I went in to all of my doctors and I said, I don't know what's wrong with me because I don't have any symptoms. I just feel off. And I feel like there's something going on in my body that should not be going on in my body. One of the things I want to alert you all to, when you've got something going on in your body or you have a gut feeling that something is off, do not ignore it. Normally, your gut feeling is accurate. And for me, it was very accurate and it has been very accurate. So I went in to get my first mammogram and I had no lumps. I didn't have anything really going on that would make me feel like something was wrong with my breast. But I remember they called me back. I was sitting in the waiting room. I had the mammogram. They called me back. They said they wanted to do it a second time. I didn't think it was a big deal. They went back. They did it a second time. I got a call. I remember I was at the pool with our kids and I got a call. I was sitting there with one of my very good friends, Elizabeth Jakaitis. I remember this like yesterday. Shout out, hi, Elizabeth. And that they wanted me to have a biopsy, that something was off in my mammogram and that I needed to have a biopsy. And honestly, at that moment, I knew I had breast cancer. I knew something was wrong. I said to myself, this is the one thing that is making me uncomfortable. This is the feeling that I'm having. This is the reason why I'm having this gut feeling. It was so hard because they told me they could not do a biopsy for 2 weeks. So Jason and I had to go 2 weeks stressed out, worrying what in the world was going to come back from this biopsy. I even remember we were supposed to go to Florida with the kids and Jason was like, let's just not go. Let's just not go. And I said, no, we have to go. We were going to go visit my mom in Atlanta and my sister and my family. And then we were going to drive on to Florida. And we ended up going to Florida. We were on a beach vacation. I did not enjoy it at all. The only thing I could think about is this biopsy. And I was trying to keep it up and be happy and smile for the kids and be the mom that they knew, I was, and to be upbeat. But it was hard because I really knew that something was going on with my body. So I got back home, I had the biopsy, and then I actually got a call that night from the radiologist letting me know that I had ductal carcinoma in situ and that I was going to have to make an appointment with my breast cancer surgeon or with a breast cancer surgeon to figure out what stage I was and understand exactly what was going on. And I was devastated. It confirmed my gut, and I was devastated. Jason was at work, and I just remember I was home by myself. I called him upset, but then I started diving in. I was on that internet, and I said, I don't know what's going on inside my body, but I'm going to fight. I have got 2 young kids at home, and I have a husband, and I want to be there for them. I got into fight mode real quick, party people. I was like, I will survive. That was my mindset. So Jason and I, were given the options, or I was given the options that I could either have mastectomy on one breast or have a lumpectomy. I had DCIS in one breast and I had ADH in another breast. I believe that's what it's called, but it was precancerous. It was not cancer cells. It was like calcifications. But the only thing I think about was I don't want these breasts because something is definitely going on and I need to be here for my children. Y'all can have them. So I decided to do a double mastectomy, and Jason was 100% supportive. I got reconstructive surgery. I also remember how crazy it was and like devastating when Jason and I were back in the waiting room waiting for the surgery to happen. So my mindset was fight, 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 fight. Although I was very sad, scared, I had a lot of family support. I had a lot of friend support. We were living in Lake Forest, Illinois. And when I tell you that community showed up for me, carpooling, meals, all the things. Shout out to Lake Forest. Love y'all. I know many of you guys listen to my podcast, and I'm grateful for you because my neighbors, my friends, our church community, Christchurch, Lake Forest, showed up. But I regress. Let me go back. When they were wheeling me back, on the, I don't know what you call it, the gurney, whatever, the thing on wheels when you're in a hospital, they took us into the back room. Jason was waiting for me to have surgery. I had on the gown and they opened up my gown and the surgeon was doing like black Sharpies, all marks all over my body. And that's when it got real. I was like all over my breast. They were writing it like how they were going to do the surgery. And Jason and I looked at each other and literally we were hysterically bawling, like crying, because my surgery was going to be 9 hours. I was going to be knocked out. Afraid is putting it lightly because I realized, I guess, at that time that it was about to get real. I think I was in fight mode and survival mode, going to all of my appointments, getting second and third opinions. But but reality kicked in when we were in that waiting room, waiting for me to go back into surgery. And we were hysterical, like hugging each other. You would have thought I was on my deathbed. It was like snotty, ugly cry. It had all been building up and we just let it out back there. And I remember the doctors were like, okay, we're going to need to give her something. We need to calm her down. We need to calm him down. So very quickly after that, I just remember getting knocked out, I guess, and they wheeled me back to surgery. And Jason and my mom, who flew in town, my sister waited patiently in the waiting room for 9 hours. You learn really quickly who you marry when you have hard times. Character shows up. Jason was so supportive. I know it had to be hard on him, but he put up such a brave face. And our kids, we didn't tell them that it was breast cancer because they had associated cancer with death. My dad died of lung cancer years earlier. And I'll talk about that in this episode. And so we chose not to tell them that it was breast cancer. They just knew that mommy was not well and that mommy was having surgery and family was coming in town to support. So it was a lot for Jason to carry, a lot. And he stood by my side. And through sickness and in health, he was there for me, double mastectomy and all, and reconstruction. And guess what? I still feel so sexy. I've never felt not sexy a day in my life with my breasts. That's because I married an amazing human and I'm so grateful for him. And when you're going through hard times, and I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2007, and now we're in 2025. So that was a long, long time ago. You don't remember how hard it was. You remember who showed up for you and supported you during those hard times. And guys, I was fit. I mean, I used to do triathlons. I ran 3 to 5 miles minimum, 4 to 5 times a week. I was weightlifting. I had a trainer. I probably was 10%, 12% body fat, like very, very healthy. I never thought in a million years that I was going to get diagnosed with breast cancer after my first mammogram. So it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I want to encourage all of the women that are listening to this podcast, please go get your breast cancer screening. Please get your mammograms. If you have not done it and it is time, please go get your mammograms. You never know. And then I want to take you all back to an earlier time in our marriage. This was actually even a harder time. Jason and I had only been married a year. We got married November 30th, 1996. In December, actually, it was November the following year in 1997, my dad told us that he had been diagnosed with lung cancer and they had given him 6 months to live. My parents were divorced at the time. My dad was a practicing dentist in DC and he was not remarried. And so I was either going to be commuting back and forth to DC to take him to treatments and take care of him, or he was going to come live with us, or he, possibly was going to live with my sister and my husband, Jason Few. And we're newly into our marriage. And I'm also pregnant, by the way. I'm newly pregnant with Bradlee. Says, your dad can come live with us. We were living in Chicago at the time. It was our first town. It was the townhouse that we bought. The first thing that we bought was a 3-bedroom townhouse. And Jason was like, your dad can come live with us. And so we moved our dad from DC to Chicago and he lived with us. I took him back and forth to University of Chicago. I was on a mission to save my father. We cut back all the meat in our house, all the pork. We bought everything organic. That's when organic had just come out as a thing. Everything was organic. I was juicing all the time and party people. My dad went into remission. He actually lived for 16 months, not 6 months. He was able to see Bradlee being born. He was there at the hospital with us. Bradlee was 9 months old when my father passed away. And that may not seem like a long time, but the fact that he got to spend 9 months of Bradlee's life with her was amazing. And I'm sure that was also part of the push for him to fight and to survive. And once again, I had a husband by my side. I learned early on in our marriage who I married, a man with character, a man who valued family and his family too. You also marry the family. Jason's family was also very supportive. Jason's mother would fly in town and be very supportive, helping me with my dad, helping with Bradlee. Jason comes from a huge family, 4 siblings. I have 1 sister. And so marrying a huge family was a blessing, a family full of love, a family that loves the Lord, that was praying for us. I'm grateful. And I wanted to share this with you all. I wanted to share with you all that marriage is hard and life is hard, but it's all about resilience. And when you make it through, it's the foundation that sustains you and makes your marriage even stronger. And you know that you can fight and do anything when you've been through such hard times. Love and resilience, support and community. That is what drives me wanting you all to have your happily ever after, if that's what you so choose. One of the reasons why I launched Dottie is because I think our young people, you all have been really focused on your education and career, and that's awesome. But you also want someone by your side when times get hard. I was in my 30s when my dad came to live with us. Imagine that. I was 32, 31 years old, taking care of my father, who was in his 60s, working full time, commuting to Rhode Island, because at the time I was with Allied Signal, commuting back and forth to Rhode Island. I was their director of sales, and taking my dad back and forth to chemo treatments at University of Chicago. So I'm pregnant, I'm newly married, I'm 31 years old and working, and I survived. And when you're in it, you don't think about it. You just do. You're superwoman. You just do what you have to do. But I look back now, reliving those times. And you know what I think about? I don't think about how hard it was. I think about the community, the connection, the family, the love that I had that got me and got us through those hard times. Love and resilience, connection, community, support. That's what I think about when I think about our early years in our marriage. That's what I want for you all. That's why I launched Dottie. Two of the many reasons why I launched Dottie, thinking about some of the hardest times that we had to go through early in our marriage and having someone to support me, but also someone who loved me in spite of. So thank you all for listening to my first solo episode of Dottie's House. I hope you enjoyed it. Please hit follow and subscribe. Please share. And I'd love to get your feedback. Love y'all. Until next time.